Shabbat Shalom, friends. Welcome, everyone, this evening. Welcome especially to our friends who are here for the first time from Transponder. Good to have you with us. And we will open with a nigun, a wordless melody, to help ourselves sort of settle in and arrive. The only words are "yai-di-di-di." You know those words. I don't care if you're not Jewish, you know those words. So there's no excuses here. I am very-di-di-di-di-di. I am very-di-di-di-di. I am very-di-di-di-di-di. I di-di-di-di-di-di. I am very-di-di-di-di-di. I am very-di-di-di-di. I am very-di-di-di-di-di. I da-da-da-da-da-da-da. I di-di-di-di-di-di-di. Am very-di-di-di-di-di. Am very-di-di-di-di-di. Am di-da-da-da-da-da-da-da. Am very-di-di-di-di-di. I'm very di 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 di. I'm da 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 di di di. I'm very di 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 di. I'm very da 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 di. I'm very di 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 di. I'm very da 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 di. I'm very di 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 di. I'm very da 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 di. I'm very da di di di. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very dum da 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 da. I am very da 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 da. I am very dum very da da da. I da 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 da. I am very dum very da da da. I am very dum very da. I am very dum very da da da. I da 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 da. I da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very dum da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. One more time. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I am very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. I'm very da 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 da. Well done, everyone. We'll slow ourselves down. We'll turn to page 7 in our Sidurim, in our prayer books. If you would like the transliteration, the Hebrew words with spelled out in English letters, it's on page 9. If you'd like to sing if you'd like to see a translation of what we're singing, we're just singing the first verse, which is actually back on page 4, so apologies for the confusion. But in any case, we are calling out to the divine as soul beloved. I invite everyone to come as close forward as you would like to the front of the room and center as we light our Shabbat candles. Jacob, would you like to light the candles this evening? Let's take a moment to consider the week that is finishing. Release whatever it is that needs to be released. Yeah, you can shake it off if you need to, physically, a little shake out. Big exhale, perhaps. And into whatever space we've created, we can take in the light. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech ha'olam asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu lehadlik ner Shel Shabbat. Shabbat Shalom, friends. But as you make your way back to your seats, please make sure you greet someone that you didn't come with this evening and wish them Shabbat Shalom, a good Shabbat. Make an effort to greet someone you didn't come with and wish them Shabbat Shalom. Once you are back at your seat, we're continuing on page 12. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tovu manayim, shevet achayot gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet shevet achim gam yachad. Hine ma tov u'manayim, shevet achayot gam yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet kulanu yachad. Hine ma tov, shevet kulanu yachad. Behold how good it is when brothers, when sisters, when all of us, brothers, sisters, and in between, sit together in unity. With that intention, we go into our Psalms of Kabbalat Shabbat, of receiving Shabbat, beginning on page 21, with a reminder to sing out with whatever it is that we bring to this space. Some of us are here with joy, some with grief, some with exhaustion, some with outrage, and perhaps a combination of different sentiments within us. Whatever it is, that can be your offering this evening. Lechu neranena l'Adonai nariya litzor yishenu nekadma fanav betodah bizmirot nariya lo. Page 25, let's sing out a new song. Ay, ay, lay, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, la, lay, la, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, la, lay, la, lay, ay, ay, lay, lay, la, lay, la, lay, la, lay, 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 ay, We'll turn to page 31. Or zaharu ala tzadik, Ole Yisrael simcha. Or zaharu ala tzadik, Ole Yisrael simcha. Simchot tzadikim b'Adonai, V'hodu lezecher kodsho. Simchot tzadikim b'Adonai, V'hodu lezecher kodsho. Or zarua la tzadik, Ole Yisrael simcha. Or zaru ala tzadik, Ule Yisrael simcha. Page 37. I invite you to stand with me if you're able. Take in this psalm with our whole bodies. If you didn't quite loosen up enough when we lit candles, this is another opportunity. Mizmor leDavid, Havul Adonai b'nei Elim, V'havul Adonai kavod ba'oz. Havul Adonai kevod shemo, Yishtachavu Adonai b'hadrat kodesh. Kol Adonai amayim el hakavod yirim. Adonai amayim rabim. Ay ay ay. Adonai shover arazim, Vaishaver Adonai et arzei harvanon, Vayarkidem kemo egel Levanon vesirion kemo bein re'emim. Kol Adonai chotzev lavodesh. Ay alay lay lay, ay alay lay, 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 alay lay, ay lay lay, ay lay 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 lay, ay ay ay. Adonai yachil midbar, yachil Adonai midbar kadesh. Kol Adonai yecholel ayalot, vayechesov ye'arot uvehechalo kulo merkavot. Uvehechalo kulo merkavot. Adonai lamapul yashav, vayeshev Adonai melech le'olam. Adonai oz le'amo yiten, Adonai yivarech et amo. v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. Ay alay lay ay ay alay lay ay alay lay lay ay alay lay ay alay lay lay ay alay lay ay alay lay lay ay alay lay ay ay lay ay lay lay yala lay 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 Adonai yivarech et amo v'shalom. You may be seated. We turn to page 41. Come, beloveds, let us greet the bride and the various faces, the various presences of Shabbat. This is a 9-verse song, and it's a little bit confusing how many verses of it we sing, but essentially we sing the top verse on every page through page 47. Plus the second verse on page 47, which is the last verse. So hope you'll be able to bear with that. And, if you're not, there's always la la la. And the chorus, which goes like this. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zachor b'dibur echad Yishmianu el hameyuchad Adonai echad u'shmo echad L'shem u'letiferet ve'litchila Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Likrat Shabbat lecho v'nelcha ki hi mekor habaracha merosh mikedem nesucha sof ma'aseh b'machshava tchila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Hitoreri, hitoreri, ki va'orech kumi ori, 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 shir daberi, kevod Adonai alayich nigla. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Yaminu smol tifrotzi bet Adonai taritzi al yadish ben partzi venismecha venagila. Lecha dodi likrat kala b'nei Shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala Shabbat nekabela boi v'shalom ateret bala gam besimcha ובצהלה תוך אמוני עם סגולה בואי חלה לך דודי לקראת קלה לפני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה פני שבת נקבלה. Page 49. Now that we have officially invited Shabbat in, we are in Shabbat, she is within us, and we sing the Psalm of Shabbat, which says, Tov lehodot l'Adonai, it is good to give thanks. So, what are we grateful for this Shabbat? It's never a rhetorical question. For sunshine. Some of you are grateful for warm weather. I have a little furnace strapped to my abdomen all the time, but what? For rain next week. Spring flowers. For ice cream. Peanut butter. Eventual cold weather, yes. The first fruits in the garden. And for friendship, for the justice system, for family, for the voters, for the voters pamphlet. Oh, yes. No good thing is too small to take a moment for gratitude. For the jasmine outside the door right here. Yes. All right. I'm grateful that this week we saw so many people coming in and celebrating together. This tune for the Psalm of Shabbat comes to us from Beit Tefillah Yisraelit B'Tel Aviv, which is probably, well, not right now because it's 10 hours ahead, but this Shabbat was probably meeting on the port in Jaffa, singing this song as they watched the sunset 10 hours ago, and we sing this song as the sun sets around us here. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatecha Sorry, I skipped a phrase. Let's do it again. Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Mizmor shir leyom haShabbat Tov lehodot l'Adonai Ulzamer l'shimcha ולזמר לשמך עליון להגיד בבוקר חסדך ואמונתך בלילות. There we go, one more time. מזמור שיר ליום השבת טוב or night, there's always something to be grateful for. Before we sit down, though of course those who need to be sitting, that's fine. We'll turn to page 57 for our official roll call, so to speak, calling ourselves into minyan, into community. So we transition as the sun is setting into our evening service. Well then, take a moment, if you didn't after candle lighting, to make sure you've greeted the people sitting or standing most immediately proximate to you and wish them good Shabbat Shalom. Those behind you and in front of you. Introduce yourselves if you don't already know their names so that we know who we're in community with tonight. Here we are. Baruch Hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach Leolam Va'ed. You may be seated. We turn to page 58 and 59 and recite the blessing for day rolling into night and night rolling back into day as we perhaps look up and notice that happening around us. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam asher bidvaro mari v'aravim b'chochma potech she'arim ובתבונה משנה עתים ומחליף את הזמנים ומסדר את הכוכבים במשמרותיהם ברקיע כרצונו. בורא יום ולילה, יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, מפני אור. בורא יום ולילה, יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, מפני אור. בורא יום ולילה, יום ולילה, גולל אור מפני חושך וחושך מפני אור, מפני אור, מפני אור, אור מפני אור. ומעביר יום ומביא לילה, ומבדיל בין יום ובין לילה, אדוני צבאות שמו. אל חי וקיים, תמיד ימלוך עלינו, לעולם ועד. ברוך אתה אדוני, המעריב ערבים. We turn to page 63. As we sing of divine love, if you came here tonight with someone you love, it's a good time to snuggle up close to them. And if you came here solo, or with people that you're not quite comfortable snuggling up with, it's It's a great time and a great week to just claim for yourself the divine love, ready to envelop you exactly as you are. Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha, Ahavta, Ahavat olam beit Yisrael, Amecha, Amecha, Avta, Torah u'mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, limadeta, Torah u'mitzvot, chokim u'mishpatim, otanu limadeta, limadeta. Alkein Adonai Eloheinu b'shachmeinu v'kumeinu nasiach b'chukecha v'nismach v'divrei tortecha mitzvotecha. Ki hem chayenu ve'yorech yameinu uvahem negei yomam v'layla ve'ahavatecha lo tasor mimenu le'olamim. Baruch et Adonai, Ohev Amo Yisrael. Shema is on page 65. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha v'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavecha hayom al levavecha Vishinantam levanecha, v'dibarta bam, v'shivtecha b'vitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, uchtavtam. Amezuzot beitecha uvisharecha. We continue silently with your choice of biblical selections through page 73. Adonai Elohechem Emet. Sometimes liberation comes through visible miracles, a sea splitting, a quantum leap. And sometimes God acts through us. We make our own miracles. The miracles come through human struggle. The liberation comes through human struggle. But we sing these words on page 79 that our ancestors sang after crossing a split sea to remind ourselves that however it comes, at whatever its pace, it's worthy of a song. Ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, mi chamocha ba'elim Adonai, mi kamocha nedar bakodesh, nora tehilot osef ele, nora tehilot osef ele, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, Mahalechotecha ra'u vaneha, bokei hayam lifnei Moshe, Zeili anu ve'yamru Adonai imloch leolam va'ed, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, ya bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye bye bim bam, I bye bye bim bim bam, ya bye 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 bim bam. V'ne'emar ki fada Adonai et Yaakov, ugealo miad chazak mimenu, Baruch ata Adonai Kal Yisrael. We turn to page 80 and 81. We pray for peace, that we may lie down in peace without fear of what might come for us in the night. That sukkah, that canopy of peace, be spread wide over all of us with a really expansive understanding of who all of us includes. Spread over us wings of peace, shalom. Draw water in joy from the living well. Draw water in joy shalom. Draw water in joy from the living well. Draw water in joy from the living well. Waters of life, shalom. Ushmor tzitenu v'oinu l'chaim u'l'shalom me'ata ve'ad olam. Ufros aleinu sukat shalomecha, Baruch ata Adonai. Haporei sukat shalom aleinu, ve'al kol amo Yisrael, ve'al Yerushalayim, ve'al kol yoshvei tevel. Page 85. V'shamru v'nei Yisrael et ha-Shabbat la'asot et ha-Shabbat l'dorotam berit olam. Beini uvein b'nei Yisrael oti le'olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai et hashamayim ve'et haaretz uvayom hashvi Shabbat vayinafash. On page 87, Chatzi Kaddish will take us into our silent Amidah, our time for our own personal reflections. If you'd like to use the traditional liturgy, it's found starting on page 90 and going to page 107, or you're welcome to use this time for your own meditations as well. And we say goodbye and thank you to Vic Hansen for accompanying us this far through the service. He's got to go home, but we hope the rest of you will stay, especially to hear the Devar Torah from Jacob Griffin. So thank you, Vic, and the rest of us will go into our silence together from Kaddish. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach hirutei ve'amlich malchutei, b'chayechon uvyomechon uvchayei dechol beit Yisrael. Bagala, bagala, uvizman kariv, vimeru, amen. Yehi shmei Rabba mevorach, le'olam u'le'almei amaya. Yitbarach, v'yishtabach, v'yitpa'ar, v'yitramam, v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar, v'yitale, v'yithalal. Shemei dekutsha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'meru amen. We'll close the Amidah on page 115. Yitgadal v'yitkadash shemei Rabbah, be'alma divrach yiruteh v'yamlich malchuteh, b'chayechon uv'yamechon uv'chayei dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kariv v'yimeru. Amen. Yehi shemei Rabbah mevorach, le'olam le'olmei almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yit'aleh v'yithalal shemei dekudesha b'richu le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'imeru. Amen. Titkabal tzloton uvaot tehon dechol beit Yisrael kodam avuhun divishmaya v'imeru. Amen. Yehi shalom araba min shemaya v'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'yimru. Amen. Oseh shalom b'mromav uyaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'yimru. Amen. Let's turn to page 686 for a brief prayer for healing. I invite you to read with me, and we'll pause after the first sentence, and all are welcome to call out the names of anyone, including yourself, for whom you are praying for healing this evening. May the one who blesses all life bless and heal these people who struggle against illness. May those afflicted with disease be blessed with faith, courage, loving, and caring. May they know much support and sustenance from their friends, their loving companions, and their communities. May they be granted a full and complete healing of body and soul. May those who seek ways of healing through increased medical knowledge, and those who care for the sick daily be blessed with courage, stamina, and communal support. May all, the sick and the well together, be granted courage and hope. And let us say, Amen. I just, at the request of one of my mentors in the Reconstructionist Rabbinical College, wrote and submitted an essay for publication by the Reconstructionist movement later this month. He said, write about anything having to do with Shavuot and Torah study and Revelation. So I wrote about the importance of progressive Jews, particularly Jews who have been marginalized by verses in Torah, moving towards those texts that marginalize us traditionally and claiming them and grappling with them until we can wrestle some blessing out of them, instead of just leaving them on the shelf, ignoring them, ceding them to the fundamentalists to claim what the meaning is. This week's parashah is Acharei Motz Kedoshim. It's a double Torah portion from the middle of the book of Leviticus. Parashat Acharei Mot contains the infamous verse Leviticus 18:22. Some of you are widening your eyes. You know what that verse is. The abomination verse that has been used to justify so many millennia of stigma against gays and lesbians and queer-identified people. And so I am so pleased that we are enacting what I call for, what I think our Jewish community so needs, that the Queer Chavurah is sponsoring the Oneg this evening, and that Tudrash on this Torah portion, he's not going to talk about that verse. Sorry if you were hoping for that talk. That's okay. To share his journey from being a nice Christian girl to a nice Jewish man, we invite up Jacob Griffin, board member here at TBI.
These two particular things I'm going to talk about tonight are deep in my heart. So I'm incredibly nervous, and I want you all to bear with me while I do this. Thank you. I have many people who love me here tonight, and that feels so wonderful. I want to say two other things before I start. One is that in at least 12 states, what I'm about to say would be illegal if there was anyone under 18 in the audience at all, and there was a young person here just a little bit ago. So I want you to keep that in mind, because I'm going to speak fairly innocuously. The second thing I want to say is it is most obvious I'm a convert to the naked eye when I attempt to say anything in Hebrew. My way of dealing with that is to mumble and move as quickly as possible and to try to say as little. So bear with me on that too. All right. Shabbat Shalom, everyone. Tonight, I'm going to focus on Kedoshim, the second portion from tonight, which contains some of the most well-known instructions of how we should live in order to be holy. Here we find love your fellow as yourself, and as we all know, that is what Hillel, I am very nervous. Whew. And that is what Hillel told us that we needed to know, that all we needed to know. And we are told to maintain the corners of our field here for the poor and needy. And we are told to greet the stranger. That seemed like pretty much a slam dunk when I first started contemplating how to approach this evening. I suspect the rabbi may have chosen this evening for that reason. And it seemed obvious that I might urge you to welcome the strangers among us. But I am a Jew, and so that seemed really unnecessarily simple. So I began to examine how I have welcomed the strangers in my life. But I'm not just a Jew, I'm a convert, and so I felt I needed to do a little bit more. And so I asked myself, who within me is the stranger that I have had to greet? Who is it in myself have not been seen or is not seen now? What parts of myself are not seen and heard the way that I sometimes look or oversee or just ignore the most vulnerable among us? Who have I had to greet as they appear unexpectedly in my door? I can see I'll take time just drinking. To tell you about my journey, I must begin at the beginning. And my beginning was not simple. The rabbi said I was a Christian. I was not just a Christian. I was the oldest daughter of 6 children of an American Baptist minister and his wife. My father was a civil rights activist. He marched on the second Sunday at Selma. He helped young men avoid the draft in Vietnam. When I was in elementary school, one of my teachers approached me one day and asked if I understood what a hero my father was to the black community in Philadelphia. And I was stunned into silence Because at home, my father was a monster who abused his children in every way possible, and my mother was not a person capable of providing safety or comfort. My reaction to this was to disappear into books, into my imagination, and away from reality. I became very cynical at a very early age about the values of either religion or spirituality. I spent many hours in church imagining that the pipes on the organ were rockets used by Mighty Mouse to strafe the congregation. That beginning left me with no belief in anything that I had been taught, and I mean anything. And while that has been a lot like being in a jungle with no signposts, it also means that I've had few preconceived notions about what it means to be a good person or what it would take to be one. I get to choose. What does it take to be a good parent? How do I survive when the pain is so deep? What is the best I am capable of in this moment? What choices move me a little closer to the light? When I began to wonder what was true, it allowed me to wonder about what was possible. Reading allowed me to discover ideas and worlds I did not know existed. I stumbled on Chaim Potok as a young teen. Here were people living lives of deep meaning, constantly searching for answers and for more questions to ask, arguing over pieces of text, trying to discern the deepest meaning. In My Name is Asher Lev, the struggle and belonging all at once to yourself, your family, and your community, and to what you are passionate about felt so close to what I was feeling. And as a young parent of my first child, experiencing that joy for the first time, I read this from Abraham Heschel. Never once in my life did I ask God for success or wisdom or power or fame. I asked for wonder, and he gave it to me. In my other life, I ran into public political trouble when I was a library director and felt so isolated and alone. And I came to know a woman named Marian Magid as she was associated with the ADL, and the ADL had some concerns about a program we were having at my library. And so she showed up in my life, and she stayed in my life. She would take me out to lunch and talk about small things, and this was not a little thing at that time. And she brought her rabbi along just so that we would chat, and because her rabbi happened to be with her, and my son then, I was with my partner, Marian, and my son, we talked about whether my son could, as he did, consider himself Jewish because Marian was his parent. And Marian Magid was just this amazing respite for me in a terrible time. And then I moved on to another job, and a little while later, a rabbi let me know she had died. The entire time she had been a comfort to me, she had been dying. She had never told me, and she had never told her rabbi or her family what she was doing for me. And then sometime later, I was working in Ventura, California, and I drove my car down a hill towards the ocean, and the sun was shining. The waves were dancing, and I pulled over to the side of the road, and I called my Marian, and I said, I think I'm going to convert to Judaism. That was the first time I had even consciously thought that. My son once asked me why I decided to convert, and I said, all of my life I have asked why. Now I am asking why not. And of course, because I was converting to Judaism, that was the beginning. There was 18 months of learning, so much learning, books and more books and ideas and discussions. I have this memory of sitting one Sunday morning in a cafe with my Mary and waiting for our youngest to finish his cello lesson and reading The Sabbath, again by Heschel, and stopping every few seconds to read a phrase out loud and to reckon with Shabbat as a palace in time, and that just cracked me open. And then going to the mikvah and standing on the bima holding the Torah. And then here at TBI, walking through the sanctuary among all of you while carrying the Torah. At those times, I truly feel that I was at Mount Sinai with all of you. Those have been moments of great and deep joy, to be with other Jews, to feel Jews around the world praying as we welcome the Sabbath bride, as among the sunsets around the world. That feeling is so deep in my bones. When I stand here with you, I feel I am at home. I am where I belong. Last weekend, I stood in the aisle at the Shook, surrounded by you all. That group even included my friends Holly and Jaron, who are here tonight. Holly was in my conversion class in Santa Barbara. And then she and Jaron ended up here. And Rabbi Solomon was on my Beit Din in Santa Barbara. And then there were all of you here at the Shook. And it felt like I was in the middle of my Jewish life, and it was amazing. Think of this as the interlude in the movie where there's music and just, all right, because we're about to shift topics, and I didn't have a really good bridge, so this is it. About 5 years ago, Marion handed me an open book and said, I think you'd be interested in this chapter. So everything that I'm about to talk about is completely her fault. And I have never once asked her to explain to me how she feels about that, and I never will. That book was about trans men. And that chapter was about a lesbian who felt the longing to be male but not quite wanting to stop being female. She decided to have top surgery but not transition. I finished that chapter. I put the book down. I have never, ever read another page of it. It had done its work, and at 62, I had begun to understand that there was another stranger at the door who needed to be greeted. And it turned out that top surgery is not something you can just order. It can take years. But the door had been opened, the stranger was there, and I could not make him leave. And so I began to transition. And with every whisker that appeared, every minuscule muscle that began to take shape, when my chest became a source of pride instead of something I tried to pretend did not exist, I realized that I was growing to love a body I had ignored and hated. I began to realize that I was where I had always needed to be, that my body, finally, in my 60s, was beginning to feel like home, my home, not crafted by birth, but created by a search for joy, for a sense of pride, a sense of wonder in who I am and what medicine has allowed me to do, to live my life as I was meant to live it. Both of these journeys, while seemingly very different, caused deep changes in every part of my life, on who I am, how I behave, what I choose to eat, how I use the corners of my field. The writer Calvin Trillin once asked his father what he should do with his life. His father Abraham said, "Might as well be a mensch, son." When I first read that years ago, I was so envious of what I saw as Trillin's opportunity to be a mensch. I was neither Jewish nor male, and it felt like those were necessary components for being a mensch. Marion wants me to insert here, there is absolutely no reason that anyone needs to be male in order to be a mensch. You can be a mensch, be female, be non-binary. Mensch is not gender-based. Is that okay? Did I do that all right? Right. Today, I am a Jewish man who is aspiring to be a mensch. Not all moments have been warm and embracing. When I first went to talk about converting, I was connected to a cantor who was so rude and belittling and dismissive. He spent 20 minutes talking to his wife about the color of the tile they should choose in their bathroom while I sat in his office with him. Over the years, I have decided to believe he was testing my resolve and that at some point someone was supposed to turn me away 2 more times and just nobody remembered. Sometimes I remember that Judaism is not just a belief system, but also an ethnicity, a history, a family to which I am a very late arrival. And then I truly do feel like the stranger. And this is so true for becoming a male in my 60s. Sometimes I'm intensely aware of how awkward I feel. Sometimes I call to order dinner, and at the end the guy says, "What's your name, sweetie?" And I say, "Jacob." Sometimes I scare women and worry children, but I forget my face looks different. And an approach that once felt safe to people now feels intrusive and scary because of who I now appear to be. And someday we should all have a conversation about what trans people could talk to you about. Never mind, we'll talk about it some other time, but yeah. Men have lost a lot in their inability to be seen freely and openly the way that women can and children can see each other, and I think that's sad for all involved. But I digress. At these moments, I feel very, very much like a stranger in a strange land. But I am a very lucky man. My whole family has had my back every moment of this process. I sometimes say it's lucky that I raised my children to be embracing and tolerant because no one has needed that tolerance more than me. My kids started out with an atheist female mother and now have a Jewish male mother, so their ride has been interesting as well, I would imagine, but it's theirs to tell. You all have embraced me in all of my various plumages. Tonight, I am asking you to embrace all of us strangers with our weird needs and desires. I ask that rather being uncomfortable when you meet a trans person or worrying about whether you will be safe in a restroom or a locker room with them, that you make sure that they are safe in those places with you. The bravest people I know are trans women, and they need you to put aside your discomfort if you have any and greet them as the brave women that they are. I ask that you pay attention to the over 400 pieces of legislation currently being considered to eliminate the right to exist for trans people. I ask you to see that 12 states have already banned our existence. This is not a looming threat. It is here, it is blatant, and it is an existential threat to all trans people. It can and is happening here. I am only safe in Oregon between elections. Every election is a threat on my life. And I wouldn't normally do that, and I certainly wouldn't normally do this here. But almost as we were walking out the door tonight, this tweet came up from a 7th grade English teacher in Indiana who has a picture of the entrance to Auschwitz and says, "I don't condone Nazism, but maybe the mustache man was onto something. Maybe we need to bring that tactic back, but not towards the innocent Jews for following their religion, but on trans for following pedophilic lifestyles." It's not coming, it's here for us. Finally, I bought a necklace after I began transitioning that said, "Self-made man." I thought it was cute, and it was on Target, and I wore it for about 24 hours, and then it made me very uncomfortable, and I haven't worn it since. I am not a self-made man. I am made by the work of so many people who have loved and supported me. I am the product of 1 million pages of books. I am the product of modern medicine. I am made of the millions of Jews, converts or not, who have taught me the joy of turning and facing the Sabbath bride on Friday night. I am, in short, no longer a stranger in my homeland. I have friends here tonight who will never be able to say this in their religious communities. And I want to tell you that they haven't told me, but I suspect this is incredibly powerful for them. It's powerful for me. And I can't thank you enough of that. And I'm going to be in the Oneg afterwards, and thank you, Queer Havor. I did not know you had done that, and that pleases the heck out of me. And if people do want to ask me civil questions about their things they're struggling with, also not so civil questions, I have a friend that she and I do programs in the nursing school students, and so we can do less civil. But anyways, thank you. Thank you to everyone for the opportunity to be here tonight. And Shabbat Shalom.
Thank you, Jacob, for your honesty, your vulnerability, your call to action. And the only thing I'd want to add to your ending thoughts is that you're also made by a creator, created in that one's image, exactly as you are. So we pray for a world in which all images of the divine are equally honored. And we turn to page 121 for Aleinu, reminding ourselves that it is Aleinu, it is upon us, not just to pray for that world in the safety of our sacred communities, but to manifest that vision even as we walk out of these spaces. Nadav, would you like to open the ark this evening? Please stand as you are able as the ark is opened. Page 121. Aleinu l'shabeach l'adon hakol, לתת גדולה ליוצר בראשית, שנתן לנו תורת אמת, וחיי עולם נטע בתוכנו. ואנחנו קוראים ומשתחווים ומודים לפני מלך מלכי המלכים, הקדוש ברוך הוא, שהוא נוטה שמיים ויוסד ארץ, ומושב יקרו בשמיים ממעל, ושכינתו זו בגובה מרומים. הוא אלוהינו אין עוד, אמת מלכנו אפס זולתו. ככתוב בתורתו, וידעת היום והשיבותה אל לבביך, כי אדוני הוא האלוהים בשמיים ממעל ועל הארץ מתחת אין עוד. על כן נקרא לך אדוני אלוהינו לרד מהרד. ככתוב בתורתך, אדוני ימלוך לעולם ועד, ונאמר, והיה אדוני למלך על כל הארץ, ביום ההוא יהיה אדוני אחד, ושמו אחד. You may be seated. Thank you, Nadav. Did you leave this up here? We turn to page 674 because we are in the weeks between Pesach, the holiday of Passover, and Shavuot. We are in a time of counting up towards Revelation, counting each day. The proof text of which is here on page 674. We're commanded in next week's Torah portion. Actually, we'll be reading this. וספרתם לכם ממחרת השבת, מיום הביאכם את עומר התנופה, 7 שבתות תמימות תהיינה, עד ממחרת השבת השביעית, תספרו 50 יום, והקרבתם מנחה חדשה לאדוני. You can read with me at the bottom of the page, and you shall count from the day after the Sabbath From the day that you brought the sheaf of the wave offering, 7 full days weeks shall they be, continuing 50 days to the day after the 7th Sabbath. Then you shall present a cereal offering of new grain to the Eternal. So we count, it is a mitzvah to do so. It's a commandment, so there is a mitzvah blessing on page 675. And then the number that we will be counting is on page 678 and 679. And that's right. I don't say the count in advance because then I will have said it without saying the blessing first, but the day that just finished was day 22, and we count by ones. So it's the day after 22. So I invite you to stand for the mitzvah of counting the Omer. We'll say the blessing on 675. We'll turn to 678, 679 for the count. Here we are prepared and ready. Hineni mochan umzuman. Hineni mochan umzuman. Hineni mochan umzuman. Hineni mochan umzuman. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam. Asher kidshanu b'mitzvotav v'tzivanu al sfirat ha'omer. Hayom shlosha ve'esrim yom. Shehem shlosha shavuot u'shnei yamim la'omer. This is the 23rd day, making 3 weeks and 2 days of the Omer. You may be seated. We turn to page 131 and take a moment to honor our loved ones who have died, whether we're currently in the period of mourning for them or we're observing the anniversary of their deaths. This Shabbat, I know we are marking the Yartzites, the anniversaries of the deaths of members and beloveds of our members: Solomon Lovinger, Harriet Fisher, Evan Hirsch, Ronald Litt, Michael Paul Coppersmith, S. Ruth Mayer, Jack S. Rubenstein, Joyce Hyman, Ruth Sachs, Margaret Miller, Evelyn Goldberg, Robin Manella, Gloria Miriam Osdegan, Rose Zeev, Rosetta Sampson, Augusta Rubenstein, and Harry Staben, Zichronam Livracha. May their memories be for blessing. And our condolences go to Daniel Borson, to Coral Sapone Borson on the passing earlier this week of Daniel's mother, and Raphael Sapone Borson on the passing of Daniel's mother, Raphael, and Coral's grandmother, Harriet Borson. Zichrona livracha, may her memory be for blessing. If any of you are saying Kaddish for anyone I did not name, I invite you to wave a hand at me and share their names now. Zichrona livracha. Zichrona livracha. Zichrona livracha. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for blessing. Ve'aleim shalom, may peace be upon them. Those of you saying Kaddish for a loved one, I invite you to stand as you're able. We honor those personal, individual losses and griefs. And also in the spirit of Jacob's remarks this evening, those of you who would like to stand in honor of the trans people who have lost their lives to violence, whose names we may or may not know, I invite you to do so as well. Yitgadal v'yitkadash Shemei Rabbah. Ve'alma divrach Yeruteh ve'amlich malchuteh. V'chayechon uvyomechon uv'chayeh dechol Beit Yisrael. Ba'agala uvizman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi Shmei Rabba mevarach leolam lealme almaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh v'yithadar v'yitaleh v'yithalal Shemei dekudsha brichu. Le'ela min kol birchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nechemata damiran be'alma v'yimru amen. Yehi shalama Rabba min Shemaya. V'chaim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav hu yaseh shalom aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael ve'al kol yoshvei tevel v'imru amen. May the one who creates harmony above make peace for us, for all Israel, for all who dwell on earth. May all mourners be comforted, and may the memories of our loved ones be for blessing. Amen. You've already met Jacob. Would the other board members in attendance here this evening please either rise or hold your hands high and introduce yourselves?
I'm Caitlin Roberts. Diane Baxter.
Awesome. If you have questions about the community, please feel free to speak to any of these people. And Jacob, usually I can barely get one or two to come, so they must be here because they love you. And I invite second Vice President Caitlin Roberts to share a few announcements before we close our service.
Shabbat Shalom. Save the date. TBI members. I'm so out of microphone practice. Tuesday, May 16th, is our spring congregational meeting on Zoom. Watch your email for the Zoom link. Also save the date. Sunday, June 4th, 4 to 6 p.m. Hineni 2023, we are here. Fundraiser and auction. Plan to join us for delicious food, fun, and community with an overflowing silent auction, live auction, and an exciting dessert dash to help us raise funds for Temple Beth Israel. Registration information is coming soon. There's a lot happening at TBI this Sunday, including Sisterhood Sunday Cafe and Brotherhood's featured speaker, Phil Moses. Please be aware that the Eugene Marathon is Sunday morning, so your usual route to TBI may be affected. Sunday evening, April 30th at 5 p.m., the Not Free to Desist Racial Justice Task Force is hosting its third movie night and potluck. Bring a vegetarian dish to share and get ready for 2 films appropriate for all ages and made 57 years apart that express a feeling of hope and connection in the struggle toward racial justice in our country. The next 2 Wednesday evenings, May 3rd and 10th at 7 p.m., are the 3rd and 4th sessions of Toolbox for Aging. This is an in-person event that will also be streamed on YouTube. There is Israeli dancing each Thursday evening at 6:30 in the social hall. Beginners, welcome. On Saturday, May 6th, Eldar Terjemon will be called to the Torah as bar mitzvah. This celebration will be in person and streamed on YouTube. See the e-news for details on all events on Sunday and throughout the week. Thank you to the musicians for their beautiful sounds. Thank you to Michael Griffin for streaming. Thank you to the Queer Chavurah for hosting the Oneg. And thank you to Jacob Griffin for your vulnerability and sharing.
Thank you, Caitlin. Are there any people here this evening at services at TBI for the first time who would like to introduce yourselves? Challenge by choice. Or here at in-person services for the first time? Karen? Glad to have you with us, Karen. Welcome. Welcome, Becca. Anyone else here for the first time who would like to introduce yourselves?
My name is Conan. I was here for Harriet.
Thank you for being here in support, Conan. Welcome.
I'm Rain. I was also here for Harriet's.
Welcome, Rain. Shabbat Shalom. All right, friends. We will close on page 39, the last line of the page, with a prayer for strength and peace. And then those who are here in person are welcome to continue convening out in the social hall over a few more blessings and some snacks courtesy of the Queer Chavurah. Those of you watching online, thank you for being with us this evening. Please remember to send a message of support and appreciation to Jacob, whether privately or over the YouTube chat. Again, we close page 39. Adonai Oz, Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yivarech et Amo. Adonai Oz, Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yivarech et Amo. Shalom. Shalom. Adonai Oz, Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yivarech et Amo. Adonai Oz, Le'amo Yitein Adonai Yivarech et Amo. Shalom. 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 Shabbat Shalom.